in prayer. Keep them in mind for prayer. All right. So today's lesson, we're going to talk about Valentine, the Moors, and Saxons. Valentine, St. Valentine, the Moors, and the Saxons. Monday is the 14th, right? Is that the 14th? No. Monday is the 14th. And everybody is getting, is it Tuesday the 14th or Monday the 14th? Monday, I believe it's Monday. Monday is the 14th. And it should be probably this weekend. You all, at least in Detroit, I know, probably on every corner, they got little teddy bears and hearts and little gifts and things that they got ready for this Hellite Day, this St. Valentine's Day, that they are getting things together for, right? I thought I didn't mean to do that. Okay. So I guess people will be indulging themselves in a very real way for a very false sense of love. The kind of love that the world understands. This kind of love is ostentatious love. It is vulgar and pretentious. It is only designed, pretense is only, meaning it is only designed to impress or to attract some notice. And that's not real love. That's a false sense of love. That's in essence, that's lust in a very real way. So this kind of love that the world is calling love is ostentatiously pretentious. It doesn't stand the test of time. It is only a temporary display. There's no weight to it. It genders all kinds of deception and lies and fear and doubt and insecurities. And all of those qualities, brothers and sisters, they breed hatred and resentment. They are all agents of sin. They are all agents of sin. So there's no truth about their love. And you can't learn true love unless you have the knowledge and wisdom of the Most High. Without the knowledge and wisdom of the Most High, you can never know true love, because love is a taught behavior. It is a taught behavior. Let's get Psalms 119, and let's start at verse 33, going down to 34. We'll start there.
All right, Book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 33. Teach me, O Master, the way of thy statutes, and I shall keep it unto the end. Give me understanding, and I shall keep thy law. Yeah, I shall observe it with my whole heart.
Observing what has been taught with my whole heart. So here is an example of what true love is. The Bible teaches us that. And this is the guideline, so to speak, of what love is. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 13. Now, if you haven't experienced this, then you haven't experienced true love. Or if you don't know how to present this on any level, then you haven't given true love. 1 Corinthians 13 and 4. We're going to read on down to verse 8.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 4. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up.
It's not puffed up. Love is not boastful. It's not arrogant. It doesn't overstep. It doesn't overreach. This is the evidence that there is charity. The Bible calls it charity, but we know it's love. Charity and love. It's a different word for love. Verse 5.
Does not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own,
Mm-hmm.
is not easily
Mm-hmm.
provoked, thinketh no evil,
Come on. Come on.
rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in
Mm-hmm.
the truth, beareth
Read.
all things, believeth all
Mm-hmm.
things, hopeth all
Mm-hmm.
things, endureth all
Mm-hmm.
things.
Come
Charity
on.
never faileth, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall
Mm-hmm.
cease. Whether there be knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
it shall vanish away.
So why do you think it says that love, that whether there be prophecies, they shall fail? Because at some point the prophecy is going to come to pass and it's going to end. But your love that you share abroad for one another should never end like the prophecy. The prophecy is going to come to pass. It is going to fall or fail because it has now reached its goal, its limit, and it's no more. You're not expecting for it to produce any further, right? Whether there be tongues, they shall cease, meaning that languages die off. So those things may have an end, whether there be knowledge. I mean, science sometimes fail, or the knowledge of some things, they fall, they cease. You're done away with them. You don't need that particular science anymore because you moved a step further than that. But love, it doesn't fail, it doesn't cease, it doesn't end. But this is not the type of love that the world believes in. Their views are distorted because there is no truth, there is no mercy, there is no knowledge. This is the reason, brothers and sisters, you and we had to be born again because we had to change that thought pattern, that thought process of what we thought love was, of what we watched on TV as love and learned in the movies and in fictional books, and what our big brother told us love was, and what our big sister taught us what love was, or what our mothers and fathers may have showed us what love was. We had to change the thought process by being born again, because that's not true love. Let's go to Hosea 4:1. Hosea 4:1.
Book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 1. Hear the word of the Most High, ye children of Israel. For the Most High hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy,
No truth,
nor,
no
nor
mercy,
knowledge, nor knowledge of Yah in the land.
and no knowledge of Yah in the land. No truth, no mercy, nor knowledge. We've been taught a pack of lies. We don't know how to love one another. We don't know how to love our brothers. We don't know how to love our sisters. We don't know how to love our wives. We don't know how to love our husbands. We don't know how to love our children. It's all lies and deception. We have to relearn things. We're going to deal with some of those lies today in regards to this false sense of love, this ostentatious, pretentious love. We're going to deal with that today. They put a lot of things on St. Valentines, and we have to remember that there is no such thing as any butterball, fat, baby, wrinkly Edomite with wings that are so aerodynamically incorrect, so they will be flying this little butterball baby around somehow on these wings, shooting a heart into the heart of people. This is a demon. They dress it up as an angel, but this is a demon. It has nothing to do with the real St. Valentine, who was a Berber Shemite or Israelite, so what we would call a black man today. St. Valentine had nothing, the complete opposite. It's like water and oil. He would be recognizably a black man today because he was an Israelite and had nothing to do with love or putting people together, anything. Not at all. So let me go to this article. Let me go to this article right now. In the article, I got it from Daily Kiosk. The Daily Kiosk, and the title of the article is Your Valentine. It is your Valentine in Black History Month. It is your Valentine in Black History Month. All right. Here we go. Little was known personally about St. Valentine, the martyr of Africa. Now, these people are calling St. Valentine an African, but we know, and we're going to prove further as we go along, that this is an Israelite. But they're labeling him in this particular article as an African. But he would have lived in a multi-ethnic, multicolored world of later imperial Rome, where Africans played key roles in the development of Western civilization. Did you hear that? I'm gonna read that again. Where Africans played key roles in the development of Western civilization, whether it's founding monotheism, writing literature, developing theology, or watch this, or sitting on the imperial throne of Rome itself. Now, you know very well there has never been any Hamites sitting on the thrones of Rome. So who was that sitting on the thrones of Rome? Israelites were sitting on the thrones of Rome. Africans were everywhere in this world. Let me read that again. It goes to a much larger point. Africans were everywhere in this world. Join me as we try to reimagine the world of St. Valentine in all its colors. Now, of the three men known as St. Valentine, the African martyr is the least well known. No romantic associations are attached to his legend, and beyond his martyrdom in what is now North Africa around the year 270, little was recorded of his life. In that year, Roman rule encompasses many provinces across the northern band of the continent, stretching from Egypt to modern-day Morocco. In the previous centuries, Northern Africa had seen waves of colonization by, get this, Semitic-speaking Phoenicians. So whenever you see here Semitic-speaking anything, you have to think that these were Hebrew Israelites. These were Semitic-speaking Phoenicians, and they have in parentheses Carthage, Greek-speaking Macedonia, and Hellenese in Libya and in Egypt. These newcomers mixed with the native Afro-Asiatic inhabitants of the area. They were dubbed Berbers. It's important to note this word Berbers by the Greeks. It wasn't a compliment. The term is related to the term barbarian, and as a derogatory name for non-Greek speakers, people whose language was nonsense, Berber, the appropriate or approximate equivalent of blah 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 blah. Their own name for themselves was Amazian, meaning free men. So, brothers and sisters, At this time, and even up until today, the people that declared that they were Berbers called themselves Amazigh, meaning a noble people, meaning a noble people. But they were called Moors and Berbers. All right. This is from the etymological dictionary of modern English. Moor, the name Moor, it means waste ground. Old English, moor, morass, swamp. From the from the Proto-Germanic mora, Saxon, Middle Dutch, Dutch mere, swamp. Old High German, mora, swamp. Also see German moor, moor. Old Norse moor, moorland, perhaps related to mere. From the root mere, it means to die or to waste away. Hence, dead land. It also means the people from the desert. All these names have the same meaning. Berber, a derivative of barbarian, Amazigh, or more, all points to one group of people, the Israelites. So let's go to Deuteronomy 28:37 real quick.
So Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Most High shall lead thee.
Hold on a second. Okay, Deuteronomy 28:37 again. I'm sorry.
All right, it's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 37. Thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Most High shall lead thee.
Whether the Most High shall lead you, we will become an astonishment, we will become a proverb and a byword. So we will be called all of these various different names: Berber, barbarian, Amazigh. We were calling ourselves Amazigh, which is a byword, or more. More notable name is more. So if you notice at the end of this verse, it says, whether the Most High shall lead thee, whether the Most High shall lead thee. That's very different, brothers and sisters, than scatter. Lead and scatter is two different things. To lead someone is to cause them to go with you by holding them by the hand, or halter or rope, for instance, while moving forward, to lead you somewhere, to bring you to a place. To scatter is quite different than to lead. To scatter is to throw you in various random spots, random spots, separate, and move off quickly to different locations. That's what it means to scatter you, to sprinkle you about, to scatter you about. To lead you is quite different. So verse 37 here in Deuteronomy 28 is saying, I will lead you somewhere, or you will be led to go in different areas. Today we use the term to migrate there. We were scattered to different places through war and captivity, but we also migrated to places through being led there. The Spirit led us there, or he took us there by unctioning our spirit to take us over into those areas. I want you all to see the difference. Now, let me get this book. Let me get this book out here. It's called The Problem of the Judaized Berbers. This was published, brothers and sisters, by the Cambridge University, the 22nd of January, 2009. The book's author is J.W. Hatchberg. J.W. Hatchberg. I'm reading the excerpt from page 313. And it reads, students of history of North Africa in general and of the history of the Jews there in particular commonly think that a considerable portion, watch this, that a considerable portion, one half or more of the Jews who lived or until recently lived in North Africa are descended from the Berbers, who prior to the Arab conquest formed the overwhelming majority of the population. So in other words, these Berbers, who are Israelites or Moors or Mazai, were living in that region before the Arabs came down, before the Islam came and took over that region, before there was Israelites already there. That's what this historian is saying. In their opinion, these Jews were the offspring of tribes among which Jewish beliefs spread in pre-Arab era, and part of which actually embraced Judaism. This assumption, which seemingly answers the question as to the origin of the Jews who inhabited the North American hinterland, and especially the districts bordering on the Sahara, has gained such wide currency that the term Berber Jew has been coined, i.e., Jews or Jew descended from Judaized Berbers. The proponents of this assumption apparently suppose that the stories of Jews or Judaized people living among Berber tribes, though describing events of the late Middle Ages or of modern times, reflect conditions precedent to the Muslim conquest of North Africa. In other words, the supporters of the theory of the Judaized Berbers think that this phenomenon cannot have originated in Muslim times, since the new religion precluded every chance of Jewish proselytizing. If therefore Judaized people are found in Africa, even in recent times, they must be remnants of a religious movement going back to the period before the Arabs' conquest in the view of the adherents of this theory. Judaism spread among the Berbers during the first centuries of Christian era. Now that right there is kind of off a little bit. Judaism did spread among the Berbers. The Berbers were Jews that lived in that area before the Christian era. See, we were already fleeing into those regions. There was pockets of Israelites who had villages and kingdoms and clans already across what's called known as North Africa, and even in the Gold Coast. We were there even in Jeremiah's time, 850 years before the first century. There were settlements of Israelites within the interior of Africa. Let's go to Jeremiah 42. Jeremiah 42 and 15. Read 15 on down to 19.
Book of Jeremiah, chapter 42, verse 15. And now, therefore, hear the word of the Most High, ye remnant of Judah. Thus saith the Most High of hosts, the power of Israel. If ye wholly set your faces to enter into Egypt and go to sojourn there, then it shall come to pass that the sword which ye feared shall overtake you there in the land of Egypt, and the famine whereof you were afraid shall follow close after you there in Egypt, and there ye shall die. So shall it be with all the men that set their faces to go into Egypt to sojourn there. They shall die by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence, and none of them shall remain or escape from the evil that I will bring upon them. For thus saith the Most High of her hosts, the power of Israel, as mine anger and my fury has been poured forth upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem, so shall my fury be poured forth upon you when ye shall enter into Egypt, and ye shall be in execration and an astonishment and a curse and a reproach, and ye shall see this place no more.
Was you at 19?
That was 18.
That was 18. Go to 19.
All right. The Most High have said concerning you, O ye remnant of Judah, go ye not into Egypt. Know certainly that I have admonished you this day.
Don't go into Egypt. And because we were a stiff-necked people, we did flee into Egypt. We did go into Egypt, Africa, and sojourn there, setting up villages, communities, and kingdoms. Let's move over to the next chapter. Let's go to Jeremiah 43, start at verse 5, 6, and 7.
All right, it's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 43, verse 5. But Johanan, the son of Kareah, and all the captains of the forces took all the remnant of Judah that were returned from all nations whither they had been driven to dwell in the land of Judah, even men and women and children and the king's daughters, and every person that Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, had left with Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, and Jeremiah, the prophet, and Baruch, the son of Neriah. So they came into the land of Egypt, for they obeyed not the voice of the Most High. Thus came they even to Tapanhes.
That's right. So they all did. Some Judites and some southern kingdom Israelites did enter into the land of Egypt, Africa, and sojourn there. The Most High said, don't go there. Stiff-necked Brews went there anyway and set up villages there, set up communities there, and were living there. So when I say they were there 850 years before the time span that we're talking about, before St. Valentine, meaning they were already there. So going further into the interior of Africa, as far as what's known as the Gold Coast. All right, let's see here. Let us see here. Building something here. Let me get this image out right quick. I know you probably can see it on the screen. Someone let me know if you can see it. Officer Maccabees, can you see that image on the screen, right?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Take a good look at this sculpture here. It is depicting something. Let's see what it is saying. You see all of these brothers here? All these locked up, braided hair brothers right here. And you see them coming against Esau right here, putting them under authority. They got one Edomite that's under the heel of the horse of this brother right here. So if you look at most historians, they call these people Moors, Berber, Mazai. They have different bywords and names for these brothers, but these brothers are Israelites. In the languages of the people who called the Berbers, Moors, we see a common thread that the word Moor relates to. Typographical feature, the word Moor or Berber, even, it means to be a part of the earth. It means to be dark. It means to be black, or as it were, or black unto the ground. Being mindful of the good part of our land is was relatively desert. So they were so So even with saying the name Moor, it means wasteland. It means or desert land or even desert people. That's what the word Berber or Moor actually means. So we see here they depicted us or depicted our ancestors here, putting Esau to the ban right here. And this is Moor's cavalry. Moor's cavalry is kind of light. It's Moor's cavalry under Lucius. I can't really see it. Fighting against the Diasins from the column of Trojan or Trajan.
Salaki,
Right.
Elder, are you able to zoom in on that sculpture a little bit?
I'm able to zoom in on it.
Khan.
Sure. I believe I can. Uh-oh. What on the words or on the
On the image itself,
on the
right
word?
there. Nope,
Okay,
the image.
itself.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you
Okay,
see the image out?
The water, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Man.
Everybody see that? That's clear. Can you see that? Well, these is Israelites. These are Israelites, locked up Israelites, putting Esau to the sword and taking over their lands. Let's go to the next image real quick here. This is a much older image, much older painting. It's in this in Europe, in Spain, more precisely. And I'll read I want you to see the image right quick. I want you to be able to see the image and then I'll read the depiction. I'll read what it is. It says that this is a description of Almoravid, General Abu Bakr, riding a camel with a whip of knotted cords from the 1413 chart of Messiah Day. He died 1087, was a chieftain of the Latuna Berbers of the Western Sahara, Banu Tagut clan, and commander of the Almoravids from 1656 until his death. Check out what his brother name was. His brother was Yahya bin Umar el-Latuni. This is another Berber, what they're calling a Berber, but he was an Israelite. Wage war in Europe, wage war in Portugal, wage war in Spain. This is a more up-to-date picture of a Berber, so-called Berber. And you can look the history of these men up. The Berber, Baal Humara. This is an Israelite of Northwest Africa, but they call of Northwest Africa, calling this man a Berber. This image here, look at his garb, the way he's dressed. Let's go to the next image. The image of some brothers. These are more up to date. I tried to find images that were more closely up to date, so we could look at them. This is the Spanish Moorish War in the Rif. Loyal Moors who are fighting on the Spanish side, about to go forward. They're getting ready to go on an attack against their rebel brothers. This is Israelite against Israelite, Moors against Moors. And the more recent, this era, when is this? This era is 1912, and it ended in 1956. Brothers look like some of you brothers. This is a little bit older picture in North Africa. These are some more so-called Berbers. These are sons of the chief, sons of the king near the Sahara Desert, sons of Goan chiefs in near Libya. Israelites. This look more familiar right here. Hands up, don't shoot. Right here. Over in those regions, they got their hands up. They're marching through. Now look at this right here. This is this right here is reminiscent of what happened to us in the 1800s to 1900s when Esau was putting us to death. They're over there putting them to death the same way, standing around taking pictures. Get one more here. See this group of people, and you see how many different nationalities is represented right here too. You have Esau, you have look like Elam, Esau, and I think that's Moab back there, but I'm not really sure. That's Moab back there, but you see it. I believe it's three nationalities represented right here, and they have all these brothers and sisters. Hands are bound, leading them away. A lot of people don't understand that slavery is happening over on that side of the world in a very real way right now. Right now. All right. Just wanted you to see those images. Very, very powerful images. So it's very important, brothers and sisters, to separate. It's very important. I think somebody said something, but I'm not sure. It's very important to separate the celebration of the festival of Valentine's Day from the actual man, St. Valentines, because historically they could be no more difference between them than water and oil. Completely two different things. The world has made out this Valentine's Day to be about hearts, little butterball babies, and candy and things like that. When the actual man Valentine was something altogether different. Now, according to Wikipedia, St. Valentine's was a clergyman under the priest or bishop in the Roman Empire who ministered to persecuted Christians. He was martyred and his body was buried at the Christian cemetery in Via Flaminia, close to the Ponte Mavia, to the north of Rome on February 14th, which has been observed as the feast of St. Valentine. And this was he was nominated as recently as a saint, or the day was adopted as a festival in 496 AD. But St. Valentine's was an Israelite black man of the Byzantine Empire in Eastern Rome. At the beginning stages of what we now know brothers and sisters, as the Dark Ages. You have to remember, and I say it quite often, I've done lessons about the Byzantine Empire. You have to remember that they were two Romes for a number of centuries. There were two Romes. We have to remember that. There was a Western power Rome, there were an Eastern power Rome. Now, let me say this. On the Eastern side was primarily all Israelites on the Eastern side of Rome. This is what we've been going through in the book of Revelations. When those elders and those apostles built up in Asia, that was the eastern half of Rome, and only the Israelites, and at one point, believing Israelites that was righteous, they ran that particular part. They did get off sometimes, and they did get, like we always do, stiff-necked. They get off a little bit, but for the most part, all of the Constantines that came out of that era, all of those were Israelites. All of those were Israelites. Now, on the other hand, on the Western side, you had Israelites to sit on the throne. Can you mute yourself, please? Mute yourself, please. On the western side of Rome, that you had Israelites who sat on that throne as well, but you also had Edomites to sit on that throne. And you have to know the difference, because it would tell you where they lived, or it would give you their lineage. And we're going to try to go through a little bit of it today. So let's get this particular pope who brought Valentine's Day into existence, or the festival of it. The name of this pope is called Pope Gilius. Mute yourself, please. Hold on, brothers and sisters. Let me mute the room. All right, all praises. All right. The name of this particular pope is Pope Gilasius the First. He was a bishop of Rome from the 1st of March 492 to his death on the 19th of November 496. The festival of Valentine was implemented in that same year. Gilasius was a prolific author whose style placed him on the cusp between late antiquity and the early Middle Ages. His predecessor, Felix III, employed him, especially in drafting papal documents during his pontificate, meaning his term as pope. He called for strict Catholic orthodoxy, more assertively demand obedience to papal authority, and consequently increased the tension between, watch this, the Western and Eastern churches. So there was always a beef somewhat between the Western power of Rome and the Eastern power of Rome. There was some confusion regarding to where Gilius was born. According to the Liber Pontificals, he was born in Africa, meaning nomine Afar is what the Latin term is. While in a letter addressed to the Roman Emperor Anastasius, he stated that he was born a Roman, just like Paul. Paul stated that he was a Roman. Conant opinion that the later assertion probably merely denotes that he was born in Rome, Africa. Watch this, before the Vandals invaded it. So our job now as historians, our job now is to unpack that. What does this particular pope mean, or what does this writer mean about Vandals? Who are the Vandals who invaded Rome? Who is that? So when you click on that, if you're on Wikipedia and we've all been there, you click on certain words and get information, right? So if you click on Vandals, it says this: the Vandals were a Germanic people who first inhabited what is now southern Poland. They established Vandal kingdoms on the Iberian Peninsula. Iberian Peninsula is Portugal and Spain, Mediterranean islands, and North Africa in the 5th century. So in order to find out who these Vandals are, because it doesn't say, it just called them Vandals, we have to first go further in history to find out who was the last emperor, because this pope was around, became a pope right before the last emperor of Rome. So we would go to Ortiz. Ortiz is the father of Romulus Augustulus. The Romulus Augustulus is the last emperor of Rome. The last emperor of Rome. So it says here, the new administration was not recognized by the rival Eastern Rome, Emperor Zeno and Ballisticus, who still considered Julius Nepos to be the legitimate partner in the administration of the empire. But as they were engaged in civil war with each other, neither emperor was about to oppose the latest usurper in battle. Ortiz was free to issue new syllabi in mints of Erles, Milan, Ravenna, and Rome, enabling him to pay the barbarian mercenaries. Enabling him to pay the barbarian mercenaries, or for short, Berbers, the Berber mercenaries, who constituted, watch this, most of the Roman army. The Israelites were the dominant soldiers that was in at this time, was the dominant soldiers of the Roman army. However, Ortiz denied the demands of Helia, Sicarian, and Tarsilian mercenaries to be granted Italian lands in which to settle before the overthrow of Naples. The Roman general promised, watch this, the Roman general promised his barbarian or Berber soldiers a third of Italian territory in exchange for assisting with the deposing of the emperor. So he promised these Israelite brothers a third of all the land of Italy. He promised them that. If after being turned down by Ortiz, the dissatisfied mercenaries revolted under the Germanic Adosar, whom they declared to be their king on August 23rd, 476. Adosar led them against their former employer, ravaging every town and village in northern Italy and meeting little resistance. So these Berbers went about ransacking the city. These Berbers, these Moors, these Israelites. Ortiz fled to the city of Pavia, where the city's bishop gave him sanctuary within the city walls. Despite the protection he received from the bishop, Ortiz was forced to flee from his life when Adosar and his men broke through the city defenses and ravaged the church, stealing all the money that the bishop had collected for the poor, and razing many of the city buildings to the ground. Now, brothers and sisters, after the fall of Western Rome, we took their former kingdoms and sat upon their thrones. So many people often ask me how, because I make statements and they say, how did King James get on the throne? Or how was Israelites in Germany? Or how was Israelites in France as kings sitting upon? This is how. Rome had all those regions. This was the whole entire kingdom of Rome. What Israel did was took the whole entire kingdom. They already had the East. They already had the Byzantine Empire. This is the point where they took the Western side and set kings on all of its thrones. So the question is this: how did Esau get the name Anglo-Saxon? How did he get the name Anglo-Saxon? How did he get the name English or British or Scottish or Irish? How did he get these names? That's the question that's most often asked. They got these names through war. They got these names through conquest. Now, what I want to do is focus in on the last 100 years of war that we had with the Edomites in the European regions, in those regions. All right, so check this out. Here go a couple of coins I want you to see. And I know you see that on your screen. That's one coin right there. That's one coin right there. This is Elector Frederick III, the Wise of Saxony, 1507. Here's another Afro in the house brother right here. Look like he got a blowout kit on the coin right there. This is Duke Frederick the Eighth of Saxony, 1625. If I'm going too fast, you say, hey, you're going too fast. 1625, check that coin out right there. There go another image of a coin right here. Look at the nose on this brother, the lips on this brother. He's truly a man of darker hue. Elector of Saxony, Johann George II, 1656 to 1680. And guess what? We were in chains during these times, and some of our brothers and sisters were still over there in Europe fighting a good fight, but they was fighting a losing battle. It had to happen. The Most High said it was going to happen. And check these little children out right here. Dukes of Saxony. This is Christian II, Johann George I, and August. These are things that our children haven't learned in our schools and our educational systems. They haven't learned. Just leave that there, right there. I haven't got to it yet. Leave that there, right there. Look at this brother right here. This is not an African. Africans don't dress. So-called Africans and Hamites don't dress like that. They don't wear silk gowns and togas with crowns on their head with pearls in their ears. That's not how they dress. Israelites do. So the question is, how did they get Anglo-Saxon names? How did they get that? So let's go to Genesis right quick, brother. Officer Maccabees, you still there?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get Genesis 21 and 12.
All right, the book of Genesis, chapter 21, verse 12. And Yah said unto Abraham, let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman, and all that Sarah has said unto thee, hearken unto her voice. For in Isaac shall thy seed be called.
For in Isaac shall thy seed be called. In Isaac shall thy seed be called. Let's go to Hebrews 11 and 18. We had the name first, but these usurpers came along and sat up on the thrones that we were in, just like we did them, usurped us, and took our names. Give Hebrews 11 and 18.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 18. Of whom it was said that in Isaac shall thy seed be called.
In Isaac shall thy seed be called. That's how you have these areas called Saxony, or the village of Saxony, or the Anglo-Saxons, the angelic sons of Isaac. That's how these names are up there in those various regions. Let's get Genesis 48 and 16. Because Israel was already calling themselves Isaac. Genesis 48:16.
The book of Genesis, chapter 48, verse 16. The angel which redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads, and let my name be named with them, and the name of my father Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth.
Let my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. Let's get one more. Let's get Amos 7 and 9. I think I want to drop down to 16 too. I do. So let's get Amos 7 and 9.
It's the book of Amos, chapter 7, verse 9. And the high place of Isaac shall be desolate, and the sanctuaries of Israel shall be laid waste, and I will rise against the house of Jeroboam with the sword. Then Amaziah, the priest of Bethel, sent to Jeroboam, king of Israel, saying, Amos has conspired against thee in the midst of the house of Israel. A land is not able to bear all his words. For thus Amos said, Jeroboam shall die by the sword, and Israel shall surely be led away captive out of their own land. Also, Amaziah said unto Amos, O thou seer, go, flee thee away into the land of Judah, and there eat bread and prophesy there. But prophesy not again any more at Bethel, for it is the king's chapel, and it is the king's court. Then answered Amos and said to Amaziah, I was no prophet, neither was I a prophet's son, but I was a herdsman and a gatherer of sycamore fruit. And the Most High took me as I followed the flock, and the Most High said unto me, Go prophesy unto my people Israel. Now therefore, hear thou the words of the Most High. Thou sayest, prophesy not against Israel, and drop not the word against the house of Isaac.
The house of Isaac. We called ourselves Isaac even in the days of Amos. We called ourselves the house of Isaac. The angelic house of Isaac. All right, let's get this book real quick. This book is called The Tribes, and it is by Yari Davidi. Let's see here. Ancient records tells of a new people living around the shores of the Caspian Sea. These people were variously known as Sakai, Sakati, Saki, Sis, Shoots, Scully, and Scots. Page 128 of the same book goes on to say, Sakai was the contemporary Middle Eastern term for synth, and the name is believed to be a derivative of Isaac. The appellation of Zaki or Saxon is further development of the same name. This other historian, Sharon Turner, she agrees with him. She authored the book History of the Anglo-Saxons. Saki, Suna, or the sons of Saki, abbreviated into Saxon, that's Saksun, which is the same sound as Saxon, Saxon, seems a reasonable etymology of the word Saxon. This is from the book History of the Anglo-Saxons, page 87. Let's get Romans 15 and 24. Romans 15:24. That's all I want is verse 24, I believe. It is. It is.
Romans chapter 15, verse 24. Whensoever I take my journey unto Spain, I will come to you. I trust to see you in my journey, and to be brought on my way thitherward by you. If first I be somewhat filled with your company.
So Brother Paul was on his way to Spain because he knew that there was Israelites in Spain, in Portugal, in Italy, and all of these regions in Europe, as far north as the British Isles and Scotland, and all of these regions. There were Israelites up in those areas. I know I'm crossing probably about 800. I'm crossing probably about 800 years worth of history, but I'm just hitting various viewpoints. Now I want to get the book from Christopher Columbus and the participation of the Jews, Spanish and Portuguese discoveries. I must go to page 52. Page 52, and I'm reading at the bottom of the paragraph of page 52. On April 30th, 1492, trumpets were sounded at the Escalades publicly announced in Santa Fe and everywhere throughout the kingdom at one and the same time, that by the end of July, all Jews and Jewesses with their possessions should leave Spain on pain of death and confiscation of their property by the state. After that date, no Spaniard was to harbor the Jew in his house or render him any assistance. So at this time, we're at the beginning stages of the 100-Year War. At this time, we're at the beginning stages of it. It is starting to happen. But before, with all of the wars that we had, all of the fighting throughout the centuries that we were having with Esau, with them trying to conquer those lands in Europe, we had nowhere to go. They either killed us or we stuck to our guns, fought them off, and in the same regions or areas. We fought them back. They would leave and come back. For years upon years, there was just fighting. So this 100-Year War between the years of the early 1600s and the early 1700s, which I'm saying that 1492 was the beginning stages of it, is because America or the Americas had came into play. Now they have a place to ship those prisoners of war. Now they have a place to send those captives, and for profit, to send those bodies instead of those bodies being there on that particular continent. All right. Let's get. I want to read something else from here. I'm gonna go to page 54. Page 54 of the same book, Christopher Columbus and the participation of the Jews in the Spanish and Portuguese discoveries. And it reads about the middle of the page of page 54. On August 2nd, 1492, which fell on the day of the mourning for the twofold destruction of Jerusalem, 300,000 Jews. According to some writers, the number was much larger. Left Spain to settle in Africa. This is the places that they went. They went to Africa. They went to Turkey, Portugal, Italy, and France. On that ever memorial day, they sailed from the harbors of Cartagena Valencia, Cadiz, Laredo, Barcelona, and Tarragona. So you don't go to France unless you have family in France. We have to use common sense when we read these historical accounts. You don't go to these places. You don't go to Germany. You don't go to France. You don't go to England unless you have, and you're being put out. You have to have somewhere to go. You have family in Africa. You have family in different regions. So we have to use those common sense when we read different accounts of what was going on here. So we had centuries and centuries of fighting, brothers and sisters. We focused on 100 years, but we also want to focus on uh, those 30 years, the last 30 years. So let me get another image, very powerful image in Germany. A very powerful image. Can everyone see this? This is a German tapestry. Can everyone see that?
Yeah, I can see it. You can just blow it up on your phone. You should be able to expand it. Yeah, I can see it.
This is the beginning of a German tapestry. This is the beginning of it. Remember when I said in 1492, it was the beginning of getting, because we have a place to go. We have a place to go now. And I want you to pay close attention to this tapestry. Look at the black side and look at the Edomite side, or I should say the Israelite side and the Edomite side. What do you notice? On the Edomite side, they got rocks and clubs they fighting with. And look, they have any shoes on. They have any shoes on here. They have clubs in their hand. So this is how you have the king and the queen right here, blackface, king and the queen, all of the black soldiers. They're up top in the towers, and down here, you notice that these soldiers, what do they have on? They have on head wraps, they have on mitres, and what do they have on here? These are fringes. Fringes. They have fringes on. And shoes. And shoes. No shoes here. Shoes here. So when we read earlier that that these Moors or these Berbers or the so-called Africans, in the one article it said was the beginning of modern civilization. That's true. Absolutely true. This doesn't look civilized here. Clubs, rocks, and no shoes don't look civilized. Over here we have shoes, clothes, we have weaponry. So this is technology. You have castles where people live in. We haven't learned this in our educational institutions. We haven't learned this. Look at this king here. This is a king that sat on the throne of France. There's no African that sat on the so-called African that sat on the throne of France. It's an Israelite, their brother here. That is a beautiful, beautiful portrait. Look at this. Check this ring out right here. Late 16th century cameo ring, probably Italian, Venice. Look how beautiful that thing is. We're definitely we are definitely Mazai, a noble people. Definitely. All praises to the Most High. All praises. We're going to get back to that. This tapestry is a German tapestry, 1400 AD, depicting black soldiers defending a black king and queen in the windows from attacking white men. Called by whites, this is what they call this part of the tapestry, wild men and Moors. Wild men and Moors. All right, let's get back. Let's see where we left off at here. We're focusing in on the 30 years. Out of that 100-year war, we're focusing in on the 30 years here. See, I put the chart up of the list of wars we had. I want you to get the gist of what was going on here. This is the chart of the 100-year war. I started from 1609. Started from 1609. I want everybody to see it. And I'm just going to point out a few of where we were. This is Sweden and Denmark. The wars up there. We were up there. We were sitting on thrones in Sweden and in Denmark. Let's see here. The Anglo-Spanish War, the French phase, Russo-Polish War. This was all Israelites in these areas that were fighting Edomites. They took over those lands through war and conquest. Irish wars. Here goes the Second Civil War, the Scottish uprising, Portuguese. These is the 100-year war that I was speaking of. Let me go back up. The second column, Anglo-Dutch War, Amsterdam War. All of these wars that we were involved in. And here's the one, all commenting this the last time any Israelites sat on the thrones of England, Scotland, and Ireland was in 1715, 1716. This is the Jacobite Rebellion, where we tried to win the kingdom back. We failed and end up over here in chains. Jacobite Rebellion, also known as the 15th. So this is a little bit of history, Berber, Moorish history of what happened to our people. All right, let me go in here. Let us go back in here. Right. So great was the devastation brought on about by the war that the estimates by reduction of population in the German states at about 25% to 40%. This is how devastating historians have said this war, this 100-year war was, and mainly the 30-year part at the end of it, the last 30 years. This is how devastating it was. This is why I really believe that the King James Bible was brought about and was talked about in 1604. It was worked on in 1605, but the work began on 1605. It was completed by 1611. There was a long periods of time where we had no teacher, we had no law, we had no truth, and the Most High still was preparing a way out for us. So King James transliterated the Bible, and it was transliterated, and Esau didn't destroy that thing. He kept that thing. And we woke up to this truth in slavery because of that Bible. All right. Germans, reduction of population in German states at about 25% to 40%. Some regions was affected much more than others. For example, Wittenberg lost 3/4 of his population. Wittenberg lost 3/4 of his population because of death and because of slavery during the war. In the territory of Brandenburg, the losses had amounted to half, while in some areas, estimate 2/3 of the population died The male population of the German states were reduced to almost half. The population of the sect lands declined by a third due to war, disease, famine, the expulsion. Who got expelled? We did. Of sect lands or Czech lands or Czechoslovakia and all those different regions over there. We were over in those lands. Much of the destruction of civilian lives and property was caused by cruelty and greed and mercenary soldiers, many of them who were rich commanders and poor soldiers. Villages were especially easy prey to marauding armies. Those that survived, like small villages of Dras near Munich, would take almost 100 years to recover. The Swedish armies alone may have destroyed up to 2,000 castles, 18,000 villages, 1,500 towns in Germany. 1/3 of all German towns that war caused serious dislocations. Dislocations to both economies and populations of Central Europe, but may have done more serious damage and changes that begun earlier. Badger, probably a war veteran of circa 1622, by Jacques Camelot. This is their account, the historian's account. Pestilence of several kinds ranged among combatants and civilians in Germany and surrounding lands from 1618 to 1648. Many features of the war spread disease. These included troop movements, the influx of soldiers from foreign countries, and shifting locations of battlefronts. In addition, the displacement of civilian populations and overcrowding of refugees into cities led to both disease, famine, information about numerous epidemics is generally found in local chronicles, such as parishes, registries, tax records that are often incomplete. The chronicles do show that epic disease was not a condition exclusive to wartime, but was present in many parts of Germany for several decades prior to 1618. However, when the Danish and imperial armies met in Saxony and Thuringia during 1625 and 1626, disease and infection in local communities increased. Local chronicles repeatedly referred to head disease, Hungarian disease, and spotted disease, identified as typhus. After the Mantuan War between France and the Habsburgs in Italy, the northern half of the Italian peninsula was in the throes of bubonic plague epidemic. During the unsuccessful siege of Nuremberg in 1632, civilians and soldiers in both Swedish and imperial armies succumbed to typhus and scurvy. 2 years later, as the imperial army pursued the defeat of the Swedes into southwest Germany, deaths from epidemics were high along the Rhine River. Bubonic plague continued to be a factor in the war, beginning in 1634. Dresden, Munich, and smaller German communities such as Augsburg recorded large numbers of plague casualties. In the last decades of the war, both typhus and dysentery became epidemic in Germany. Brothers and sisters, we just viewed just 30 years out of the wars. As Esau sought to remove Jacob, his efforts to remove the Israelites from Europe and to end the Jacobites and the Saxons' homogeny and rulership in Europe before the end of the war. And at this time, the Americas provided, as I said before, a place to send civilian survivors and prisoners of war. But there were many others wars in Europe, brothers and sisters, that directly or either directly or indirectly furthered the Edomite cause of Israelite eradication. The book of John 17:17, and I'll quote it, 17:17, sanctify them through thy word. Thy word is true. Let's get the last scripture for the day. It's Psalm 72:8. The truth is real. The truth is very, very real, Israel. We had worldwide rulership. We will have it again. Psalm 72:8.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 72, verse 8. He shall have dominion also from sea to sea, and from river unto the ends of the earth.
This is very important to note. From the river to the ends of the earth. This is worldwide rulership, brothers and sisters. So all of our affections, desires, and emotions have betrayed us, taken advantage of our inability to grasp the knowledge and the wisdom and understanding contained in the scriptures. It is only through these principles one can learn, teach, and live by the example of Yahweh Shai, knowing full well the truth, and the truth only comes from Yah. So we'll leave it there, brothers and sisters. We'll leave it right there. So right now we'll just open up the floor for any questions, any comments, or any concerns.
So you saying that the